Last night, we saw a lot of political drama with Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley's debate, Donald Trump's town hall, and of course, Timcast IRL hosted Vivek Ramaswamy for a podcast/town hall style hybrid event. Now, a lot happened outside of that as well. Christie was caught on hot mic after he dropped out of the race, and he said Nikki Haley's going to get smoked. And then someone else suggested Ron DeSantis will drop out after Iowa because he's going to lose. I don't know who's going to win on Monday. Vivek Ramaswamy says people are going to be very surprised, and he's going to turn things around. The polls are wrong. He's going to see a big win. I honestly don't know. I don't. I can tell you that one of the bigger takeaways from last night was Donald Trump saying, "I'm not going to have time for retribution," which is just so heartbreaking because, as most of you know, we're big fans of retribution. I don't mean mindless, blind rage and revenge. I'm talking about accountability. Donald Trump, who had said in the past he wants revenge, we made the revenge meme poster and posted it everywhere. Donald Trump, who said he will be your retribution. Now he says, and it's not so bad, he said, we're going to make this country so successful, we won't have time. We're not going to have time for retribution because things are going to be so successful here in these United States. Now, I do think the one big takeaway from last night is the only shows that mattered were Donald Trump's town hall event and the Vivek Ramaswamy town hall. But the big takeaway, of course, is that the villain was the media we met along the way. Aside from the fact that the media is now lying about what Donald Trump said, of course they're going to. One of my favorite things is we have this piece of paper right here. I'm going to wiggle it a little bit. And it's a list of the journalists who showed up. I shouldn't even say journalists. A list of the activists and smear merchants who showed up to our town hall with Vivek Ramaswamy and how they lied and could not get basic facts correct. What a time to be alive, my friends. Well, let's break all of this down. The big news, of course, is Donald Trump saying, "I'm not going to have time for retribution," because it breaks my heart. But let me say this before we read the big story, and I want to talk to you about that hot mic moment and whether or not Ron DeSantis will drop out. Prediction markets are not too kind to candidate DeSantis right now, Governor DeSantis. But I do want to stress why the only shows that mattered last night would be Donald Trump's town hall and the Vivek Ramaswamy town hall that we did. The ratings were incredible. We're still waiting on the total numbers. I would say just on YouTube alone, it looks like we're around 600,000 for the show, which, we've done much bigger shows in the past, but it's the beginning of the election year. We had 85,000 concurrent viewers watching. And then we also had, with the multi-stream, probably close to over 100,000. Now, I don't know that the Vivek Ramaswamy town hall is the most important event last night. I'm certainly honored to we had 100 or so people who had shown up, 50 ticket holders plus many others. Questions were asked of the candidate as Vivek has done an amazing job and has worked really hard in Iowa, visiting every single county twice. That's what local reporting is saying. And as soon as the show wrapped, he got on a bus and he's like, we're going to go drive out and we're going to head out and do more campaign events. I got tremendous respect for the work that Vivek Ramaswamy is doing. I think Donald Trump is going to win. But the reason why I think this show is the only other important show to have watched, if you watched the Trump town hall, respect, check out our podcast with Candace Owens and Vivek Ramaswamy from last night. Because the fear here, and Vivek made a really great point last night. Nikki Haley is the establishment defense play. What does that mean? Well, I've made the argument that Joe Biden's going to drop out. I think that's fair to say. Joe Biden drops out for some reason or another, and then they can rush in Gavin Newsom. Maybe now Michelle Obama, because she's popped up in the press saying she's so scared, she's terrified of what will happen in 2024. Well, Vivek made a good point. Why would it be a Democrat when you can go in through the Republican primary? Now, that's interesting, because when you take all of the facts into consideration, it does look like that is likely a play the establishment is making. So first, I said several months ago, Joe Biden is out. There's no way he's running. He's having these medical episodes. His polls are in the gutter. I mean, it looks like they've abandoned him. His polls aren't going to improve. What's the point of even trying to have this guy run? And so I said I think he's going to drop out, but many people pointed out to me. They said, Tim, no, you're wrong. It's too late to have a primary. It has to be Joe Biden. And I thought to myself, okay, that's interesting. So I guess it must be Joe Biden. But then we got this story from a J.P. Morgan top strategist who said Joe Biden will drop out in March over a medical issue. And I said, you know what? Actually, that's perfect, because now it means the DNC can sub out Joe Biden. Joe Biden falls, he gets sick, he has a heart attack, who knows? And then they go, oh, gee, oh, no, we don't have time for a primary. We're going to have to choose who the nominee is going to be. Thus, they can just rubber stamp Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama. And that means those pesky candidates like RFK Jr. or Marianne Williamson, even Cenk Uygur, they won't get a chance. The reality is, I don't think Newsom or Michelle Obama would win a primary against any one of these other progressives. And I don't know if RFK Jr. is a progressive or whatever you'd call him, but they're way more popular and they generate more buzz. I mean, maybe, though, Michelle Obama's got that name recognition and that matters. So that seems like it's a decent play. But Vivek points out, no, Biden just stays in. And then what happens with these trials, these hearings they're putting Trump through, they're trying to stop him from being able to run. That's obvious. But the removal of his name from the ballot is not to prevent him from running in 2024's November general election, but to stop him from being able to win the primary. Here's why. This actually makes a lot of sense, and I think Vivek is correct about this. Who cares if Colorado boots Trump off the ballot, right? No, I mean, it's an egregious violation of our social norms and our free and fair elections, blah, blah, blah. But the Democrats are going to win Colorado anyway, so it's not like Trump's going to lose any electoral votes. Well, I've made the point. This is going to take away from the popular vote. So if they make these moves in blue states where it's very easy for them to do it, you get any blue state, they say we're moving Trump, and all of a sudden everyone cheers for it. It's not about the general. Now, Donald Trump winning a general election through the Electoral College, but not being, like, let's say California boots him off because now these lawsuits are happening. That's 10 million Republican votes gone. So Donald Trump wins the presidency with 40 million votes to insert Democrat candidates 65 to 70 million votes. And they go, look at this. He doesn't have the popular vote. He can't be president. Democracy, democracy. Well, it's never the way the system worked. But they'll argue that makes Trump disqualified because he did not win the popular vote. Or at the very least, they'll use that to try and get rid of the Electoral College or something, when in fact, the only reason Trump wouldn't get those votes is because they took his name off the ballot. Now, that's a possibility, too. But Vivek points out it boots him from the primary. Trump needs to win a California primary, same as he needs to win any other Republican primary in every state. And you've got blue states that can snap their fingers, pull his name off the ballot, and all of a sudden Donald Trump is not in the primary. And guess who wins? Nikki Haley. Or as I like to call her, Nikki Hillary. Warmonger extraordinaire. Vivek says he is not going to get out of this race at all, because if he does, that's what you're going to get. He made a great point last night. And man, is he in a tough spot with these very difficult questions. But I am glad that Vivek Ramaswamy is currently running, even though, I'm going to be completely honest, I'm voting for Trump. I'm going to vote for Trump. But Vivek makes a great point. And so I'm standing here guarded, preparing for how we can effectively handle what's to come. There are only two America First candidates that are running right now. Anywhere, in any capacity. Well, to be fair, you could argue some of the libertarians probably. But in the major parties, you've got Trump and you've got Vivek. Imagine this. With this Chris Christie hot mic thing, this is crazy. It wasn't Chris Christie who said it, but someone on the recording says that DeSantis is likely getting out after Iowa. Now, DeSantis struck down this rumor already several days ago. And so I don't know who thinks. I don't see him dropping out. Not right now. But it is possible that Ron DeSantis does drop out at some point. I mean, let me show you this right here in the prediction markets. Ron DeSantis, who owned the prediction markets a year and a half or 2 years ago, is now tied in third place with Vivek Ramaswamy. All right. Well, I like Ron DeSantis. I think his campaign has been just absolutely terrible. You know what? Cry about it, DeSantis supporters. Vivek Ramaswamy has done an amazing job, but, for a variety of reasons, the media is not too happy with him. They're going to lie about him a whole lot. But Vivek and Ron DeSantis are tied where it matters. the will of the people in the prediction markets. You can come at me and talk about all the polls in the world, and I don't care. No, don't get me wrong. I care about the polls. The polls do matter. And Vivek is in fourth place right now in the polls in Iowa. Chris Christie's dropped out. And so it's hard for me to see a Vivek victory, but I will admit there is a strong possibility that we are seeing manipulated polls once again. Vivek is traveling around. He's meeting people. He says he's seeing this groundswell. It's possible. I think it would be absolutely fantastic if he wins second place. That would be incredible. But I think Nikki Haley's got tons of support from establishment, neocon type individuals. I think second place makes sense for her. But let's talk about this. Let's say right now the prediction markets say Ron DeSantis has got a 6% chance. They say 6 cents, but it's basically that's what you can buy a share of Ron DeSantis winning the nomination. 6 cents. Nikki Haley's at 17. Ron DeSantis is spiraling. It's sad, really. Nikki Haley is beating him in the polls. She's beating him in the prediction markets, and Ron DeSantis is tied with Vivek. Here's the terrifying reality. Vivek said last night on the Timcast IRL Town Hall show, we know what's coming. We should not be surprised a year from now when the deep state, when the establishment machine, when they go after Trump in the way we know they're going to go after him, we should not be surprised and say, I wish I did something different. The challenge for Vivek, he needs to win the non-Trump vote. But he's an honest guy, and his positions are very much in line with Donald Trump. But he's running the campaign we hoped Ron DeSantis was going to run. Youthful energy, traveling around, doing the hard work. I think they said he's the youngest guy to ever run. He's 38. Young guy, tons of energy, good ideas, and he is willing to say things that even though they're not popular. He was talking about how his civic test for voting polled negatively, and he said, it's the right thing to do. We're going to stick with it. Man, that's bold and that's brave, sir. The scenario would play out like this. I believe this would be Vivek's strategy. With these efforts to remove Trump from the ballot, eventually you end up with an option of Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, or Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek is hoping, and I see this as being very good for us, in an event that happens, he can carry the banner for America First, for MAGA, when or if Donald Trump is removed. Now, I think Vivek's view is that Trump's going to be removed. They're going to stop him, strip him, and remove him. Imagine Ron DeSantis goes, well, we ran a great campaign, but I think it's time to pack it in and endorse Nikki Haley. That would be absolute chaos. Imagine if Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out right now. Let's say Vivek loses Iowa. And then Ron DeSantis, at some point after, drops out. And so Vivek says, well, we ran a good campaign. It was very expensive, and we're gonna wrap things up, but, I endorsed Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. Then you're left with two people in the GOP primary, Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. Then imagine the deep state plays some dirty game, removing Donald Trump, and you're left with nothing but little old Hillary. Oh, I'm sorry. Haley. Did I say that? That was an actual accident. You're left with Nikki Hillary. Nikki Haley. I'd prefer this. Vivek Ramaswamy stays in the race. If they try to pull a fast one on Donald Trump, and they are successful in removing him, Vivek is still there. Now, hold on. I'm not saying you don't vote for Donald Trump. Maybe Donald Trump runs as an independent. They stop him from running in the primary. They take his name off these blue states. Vivek beats Nikki Hillary, wins the GOP nomination. I'm not saying he does. I'm saying I hope he does. Because if Trump is going to run as an independent, y'all are free to vote Vivek, aren't you? That's right. Right now, what matters is Vivek understands this. If Donald Trump is forced out of the race, he's going to take on a large portion of those Trump voters. Not all of them. But I think enough to where he would win. So Vivek says the other night, if you want to save Trump and you want to save this country, you vote for me in these primaries. I think Vivek knows he's in a tough spot because, look, I'm just going to say it. I think Vivek's only real play is that he is a Trump supporter. He believes in a lot of what Trump was fighting for, a lot of what America First was fighting for. His loyalty, Trump's loyalty, what we care about is this country, not a candidate or an individual. And if he drops out, we would be handing over the entire play to the deep state. So I think Vivek knows he's the runner-up. I'm not trying to be a dick or anything, but I think he knows that his opportunity is only if they try to strike down Donald Trump. And I'm glad he's here. I'm glad he's doing this because, man, it would be... Ugh. I think the play they wanted was Ron DeSantis versus Nikki Haley. Donald Trump gets booted out. They leave Joe Biden in, and then Haley wins, and you get neocon Hillary. Well, I don't know. You get neocon Hillary Clinton. Vivek makes a really good point about that. Now, I certainly think it's possible because look, why would they just play that game? The smartest move they could make: play both. Nikki Haley is your safety net on the Republican side, and Joe Biden gets knocked out in March, and you bring in Gavin Newsom. Imagine that 2024 race. Gavin Newsom versus Nikki Haley. But who could complain? You see, right now we have big concerns that something bad's going to happen. No one's going to trust the results of this election. What if the election is just two people you don't want anyway? Who's going to fight about it? No, I mean, think about it. Let's say Donald Trump runs, and it's Trump versus Newsom or Michelle Obama. Let's say that Trump wins or loses. He wins, Democrats refuse to accept it. He loses, Republicans refuse to accept it. Let's say they somehow get Trump out before any of this happens. We enter the 2024 election. Let's say it's October. And we now know the nominee is going to be Nikki Haley versus Gavin Newsom. If Gavin Newsom wins, does anybody care? Trump supporters will be complaining about other stuff. They'll have been complaining for months about Trump's removal from the primary. Is anyone going to go fight in the streets over Nikki Haley losing? No. And the point here is this. If Nikki Haley wins or Gavin Newsom wins, yet people will accept the results of that because they hate them both, and the populists will have rejected the election a long time ago. Perhaps that is the play, but I don't know for sure. All I can say is I'm glad Vivek is here. I'm glad he's running. And in the event Trump is removed from the primary and something bad happens to the point where he's not an option anymore, I'm voting for Vivek. In fact, we'll see. I might vote for Vivek in the primary just because I know Trump is so far ahead that voting for Vivek will only boost Vivek just enough. I want Vivek to beat Nikki Haley. I want Trump to win. If Trump is forced out and they're playing dirty games and trying to manipulate us, I'm glad we got Vivek as a plan B. But I'd like to shout out our good friends in the media as we come to a close on this opening morning segment. And of course, here's the video. Donald Trump says, "I'm not going to have time for retribution." Let's play this clip. You can hear it straight from Trump himself.
Looking forward. Well, first of all, a lot of people would say that that's not so bad. Look what they did. Russia hoax, the FBI Twitter hoax, the 51 intelligence agents hoax, all of these different hoaxes that they did. I mean, a lot of people would say that's probably quite normal. I'm not going to have time for retribution. We're going to make this country so successful again. I'm not going to have time for retribution. And remember this, our ultimate retribution is success. I
can respect that to a certain degree, but I'm a bit upset because I actually want to see people get fired. I want to see criminal indictments. I'm not so sure Trump wants to play that game. I still think he does. I got to be honest. I think Trump is going to have some degree of this. I think he's trying to take a more moderate approach on TV right now to say, look, I'm not going to waste the time of the American people. I'm not going to go in and just start smashing things with hammers because a lot of people I've talked to have said, I don't want that. Now, last night, I'm talking to a lot of people from Vivek's campaign, and I said, look, Vivek, look at that, I said Vivek, Vivek's campaign. And I said, if Donald Trump's the wrecking crew, Vivek is the construction crew. I will take one more term of Donald Trump for him to go in, fire these people, shut things down. Yeah, but Vivek is promising to do that stuff too. Now, here's how Yahoo News frames it. Donald Trump hints at presidential retribution as his fading rivals squabble at debate. Hints it? He rejected it. This is what the media does. It is the game they play, and you all know it. But of course, we got to experience it firsthand thanks to our good friends over at We Are Iowa. Oh, yeah. First, I'd like to shout out local news websites for doing this disgusting thing where they have a code and their site that automatically refreshes to generate ads. So scummy. Here's the news report from We Are Iowa. Shout out local news, where you can see the event we had last night and the big old Timcast IRL right there up on the screen. Okay. While competitors debate, Vivek Ramaswamy records live podcast episode in Des Moines. That's what the title says. But of course, Connor O'Neill, who I'm assuming was here. I don't know about this Emma Brustkern woman. She's not on our press. I got the press list right here. I don't see her name anywhere. Let's see. Do we have an Emma? We don't. He says Ramaswamy joined podcast host Tim Pool live on, quote, The Tim Pool Daily Show, a political news podcast. The episode was recorded at Ramaswamy's campaign headquarters in downtown Des Moines. Now, there are a few points of clarification I must make. You're listening right now to The Tim Pool Daily Show. Timcast IRL is a multi-person conversational podcast that talks about top news of the day and cultural and social issues. We hosted Vivek Ramaswamy last night on Timcast IRL, which is an entirely different podcast. My guy, could you not have done but a humble Google search? Or how about look at the giant screen you were staring at the whole time, front and center, that said Timcast IRL? Certainly, it does not say the Tim Pool Daily Show. And if he even pulled up a single episode of the Tim Pool Daily Show, he could see it is a totally different show. My favorite point here, however, is he says, during the live podcast recording, Ramaswamy blamed the federal government for the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol, saying the FBI set up and planned the attack. He most certainly did not. Dude, that didn't happen. Vivek did not say this. He said he had questions about the Whitmer case, the promotions given to certain federal agents, he said the original plan apparently was to storm the Capitol in Detroit, and he has questions and concerns about the involvement of federal agents. And, he's referred to it as Entrapment Day, but he did not so directly and specifically say the FBI did it. But amazingly, they don't quote him. They just go on to say, he then said he wants to shut down the FBI. Great. We love the media, don't we, folks? So here you go once again. Yesterday, when I opened the show, I opened with this. Inside job, according to Oxford Languages. A crime committed by or with the assistance of a person living or working on the premises where it occurred. I then showed numerous sources where even CNN.com says that a man was acquitted because a judge agreed. It appears a cop waved him in the building. Sounds like assistance. Okay, maybe it was an accident. Maybe all they're saying is a technicality. The cop wasn't waving him in, but it looked like it, so we're not going to charge this guy and send him to prison. Except we have the police escorting the Q shaman. We have Joe Scarborough of MSNBC saying you opened the effing doors for them. So, yeah. Now, a lot of people said, Tim, you opened this by calling January 6th an inside job. I called out Vivek. I said, I'm going to call you out, Vivek, because you said it looks like an inside job when it was. But it was. Inside job doesn't mean Joe Biden did it. It means that a single police officer opened the door. Now, of course, more than a single police officer opened the door, but you get the point. Some people said, Tim, why don't you talk about the federal informants that are there? I'm like, we don't need to. We can plainly say January 6th was an inside job, not by showing videos of people. There are videos of people saying like they're dressing up and don't know enough about it. You're going to get arguments from people saying, oh, those are fake videos. Well, a judge agreed a cop waved a guy in the building. You can argue the cop did not mean to, but the cop did. There are other people that have complained. Joe Scarborough said you politely opened the door for terrorists. Politely. That's assistance. That's an inside job. So let me just wrap this by saying thank you, corporate press, for lying and doing what you do best. In the meantime, I know a lot of people did watch the CNN town hall debate. We typically on Timcast IRL crush CNN in the key demo. I mean, this is really wild. I think Anderson Cooper's key demo ratings are like 90-something. Dude, like 90,000 people. Timcast IRL does 500,000 per episode in the key demographic. It's kind of crazy to think. We're not getting the millions that Tucker or Cooper or any of these people used to get. Tucker, of course, still getting millions. And so it's interesting what's going to happen moving forward. We used to have a very small group of commentators, pundits, anchors. And so they were getting 5 to 10 million viewers every episode. But with the internet decentralizing everything, not so much anymore. Now, Tucker Carlson, when he was still on Fox News, was getting 300 to 500 in the key demo, but he was getting 3 million in the 60 plus. I don't know where those voters went, those viewers. I don't know what they're watching anymore. I know that we get, around 500,000 per episode in the key demo. It's really amazing to see. Not, the way they track ratings, it's interesting because podcasts are different. CNN runs the show. It runs for an hour. It stops. They got 90,000 views. Timcast IRL runs the show. We stop, and then people watch in the morning, something they don't do for like Anderson Cooper. So we end up picking up 100,000 on podcast platforms. We end up cracking around 400K on YouTube, plus all the clips. If we include the clips, we're talking about total exposure of over like a million and a half across the board. So we're getting a substantial amount of views in different ways. It's different from the way TV used to be. But our key demo viewership rivals that of even Tucker Carlson at the time when he was on Fox News. The issue, I suppose, is we're getting a lot of people in the key demographic, is 18 to 54. But where are the older voters and what are they watching? We need to pay attention because they're a significant voting force, and we want to communicate with them, and we want to make sure they understand what's happening in this country. I'm going to leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.